Take a moment and remember the last time you felt rejected. Not necessarily by a romantic partner. Maybe it was a job application that never received a response, a friend who slowly drifted away, a message that was left unread, an invitation you never received, or perhaps a room where everyone seemed to belong except you. Think about how it felt. Your chest became heavy. Your stomach tightened. Your thoughts refused to slow down. You replayed the moment again and again, searching for an explanation. Why did this happen? What did I do wrong? Could I have changed the outcome? The remarkable thing is this: nothing physically touched you. No broken bones. No visible wounds. And yet, the pain felt undeniably real. Welcome to Mind Decoded. Today, we're exploring one of the deepest mysteries of human psychology. Why does rejection hurt so much? At first glance, it doesn't make sense. After all, rejection isn't a physical injury. No one has struck you. No one has stolen from you. Sometimes, all that happened was a single word. No. Or perhaps, no words at all. Just silence. Yet that silence can echo through the mind for days, weeks, sometimes even years. To understand why, we need to travel back thousands of years. Long before cities. Long before technology. Long before social media. Human beings survived in small groups. Being accepted wasn't simply comforting. It was essential. If your tribe rejected you, you lost protection. You lost food. You lost companionship. In many environments, you also lost your best chance of surviving. For our ancestors, social exclusion carried enormous risks. Because of that, the human brain evolved to take signs of rejection very seriously. Today, the world has changed dramatically. Being left out of a group chat is not the same as being cast out of a tribe. A declined invitation isn't a threat to your survival. Yet your brain still reacts with surprising intensity. Not because it's irrational, but because it's using systems that developed in a very different world. Here's something even more fascinating. Brain imaging studies suggest that experiences of social rejection can activate some of the same brain regions involved in processing physical pain. That doesn't mean emotional pain and physical pain are identical, but it does help explain why rejection can feel so deeply personal and difficult to ignore. Your brain isn't pretending the pain exists. It is responding to a meaningful social experience. Think about that. The heartbreak after a breakup. The embarrassment of being laughed at. The disappointment of not being chosen. The loneliness of feeling invisible. Your mind treats these moments as important signals. Not because you're weak. Not because you're overly sensitive. But because human beings are profoundly social creatures. Now consider this question. Why do some people seem to recover from rejection within days, while others carry the weight of a single rejection for years? The answer has less to do with the rejection itself, and far more to do with the story the mind creates afterward. One person thinks, that opportunity wasn't the right fit. Another thinks, I'm not good enough. The event is the same. The meaning is different. And sometimes, that meaning shapes an entire life. In the next chapter, we'll uncover why the fear of rejection begins influencing your decisions long before anyone has the chance to reject you. Because the greatest danger isn't always rejection itself. Sometimes, it's the life we never live because we were too afraid to risk hearing the word. Before you ask someone out, before you apply for your dream job, before you share your opinion, before you start that business, something strange often happens. You hesitate, not because you've already been rejected, but because your mind has already imagined it. This is one of the most fascinating things about the human brain. It doesn't wait for danger to arrive. It predicts it. Your brain is constantly asking, what could go wrong? In many situations, that ability protects us. It helps us avoid unnecessary risks. It prepares us for challenges. But sometimes, it becomes overprotective. Instead of protecting your future, it begins limiting it. Consider a young artist. They spend months creating a beautiful painting. Friends encourage them to share it online, but they never do. Not because the painting isn't good, because they're terrified someone might criticize it. Now imagine a talented employee. They have an innovative idea that could improve the entire company. The meeting begins. Everyone shares their thoughts. When it's finally their turn, they stay silent, not because they have nothing to contribute, but because they're afraid someone might think they're foolish. Nothing happened. No one rejected them. Yet the fear of rejection had already made the decision. Psychologists often describe this as avoidance. When we expect something to be emotionally painful, we may begin avoiding the situation altogether. In the short term, avoidance feels like relief. At least I didn't embarrass myself. At least nobody laughed. At least I didn't fail. But over time, that relief comes with a hidden cost. Every opportunity you avoid is also an opportunity you never discover. Every conversation you never begin is a friendship that never has the chance to grow. Every dream you never pursue remains exactly that, a dream. Here's another remarkable fact. Many people assume everyone else is constantly judging them. Psychologists sometimes refer to a related tendency as the spotlight effect, our habit of overestimating how much other people notice our mistakes or appearance. Think about the last time you stumbled over your words. You probably replayed the moment for hours, maybe even days. Meanwhile, the other person may have forgotten it within minutes. We are all the main characters in our own minds. Most people are thinking about their own worries, their own conversations, and their own insecurities, not analyzing every small thing you do. That realization can be incredibly freeing. Now consider this. How many opportunities have disappeared? Not because you lack talent, but because fear convinced you not to try. The promotion you never applied for. The friendship you never started. The business you never launched. The person you never spoke to. The life you quietly postponed. Sometimes the greatest losses in life aren't caused by rejection. They're caused by anticipating rejection so strongly that we never give ourselves the chance to succeed. In many ways, fear of rejection becomes an invisible prison. There are no locked doors, no chains, no walls, only beliefs. They'll laugh at me. I'll fail. I'm not enough. And the tragic part is this. Those beliefs often go untested, because the moment fear tells us to stop, we obey. But here's something worth remembering. Every successful person you admire has been rejected. Authors whose books were turned down. Entrepreneurs whose ideas were dismissed. Actors who heard no hundreds of times before hearing yes. Rejection wasn't the end of their story. It was simply one chapter. In the next part, we'll explore why some people become stronger after rejection while others allow it to define them, and what psychology teaches us about building resilience without pretending rejection doesn't hurt. Imagine two people experiencing the exact same rejection. Both apply for the same position. Both receive the same email. Thank you for your interest. Unfortunately, we have decided to move forward with another candidate. One person closes the email and thinks, I'm clearly not good enough. Months pass. They stop applying. They begin doubting themselves. Every future opportunity feels smaller than the last. The second person reads the same email, feels disappointed, maybe even frustrated. But after a while, they ask themselves a different question. What can I improve before the next opportunity? A year later, one person's confidence has slowly disappeared. The other has grown stronger. The rejection was identical. The response was not. This is one of the most powerful lessons in psychology. Events shape us, but our interpretation of those events often shapes us even more. Consider a child learning to walk. How many times do they fall? 10, 20, perhaps hundreds. Yet they never stop and conclude, walking just isn't for me. They simply stand up and try again. Somewhere along the journey into adulthood, many of us lose that mindset. One rejection begins to define our identity. One failed relationship becomes, nobody will ever love me. One unsuccessful interview becomes, I'll never be successful. One criticism becomes, I'm not talented. Our brains naturally look for patterns. It's one of the ways we make sense of the world. But sometimes, we create patterns where they don't exist. One experience becomes a rule. One moment becomes an identity. One chapter becomes the entire story. Here's something remarkable. Research in psychology has found that people who see abilities as something that can be developed often recover from setbacks more effectively than those who believe their abilities are fixed. When someone believes, "I can learn," failure becomes feedback. When someone believes, "This is who I am," failure becomes a verdict. The difference isn't intelligence, it's perspective. Now think about some of the most successful people in history. Many of them experienced rejection again, and again, and again. Writers whose manuscripts were refused dozens of times. Inventors whose ideas were dismissed. Athletes who were cut from teams. Musicians who were told they had no future. If they had accepted rejection as proof of their worth, the world might never have known their names. Here's another truth we often overlook. Sometimes, rejection protects us. The job you didn't get may have led you toward a better opportunity. The relationship that ended may have saved you from years of unhappiness. The opportunity you lost may have made room for one you couldn't yet see. That doesn't mean every rejection has a hidden purpose, but it does remind us that we rarely know the full story in the moment. Pain has a way of making today feel permanent. It isn't. The future has a habit of surprising us. Perhaps the greatest mistake we make is believing rejection says everything about our value. It doesn't. Rejection usually reflects a decision, a preference, a circumstance, or a fit. It is not a complete measure of who you are. In our final chapter, we'll discover how to stop fearing rejection without pretending it doesn't hurt. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to move forward, even when fear comes along for the journey. No, there comes a moment in every person's life, a moment when they must make a choice. Stay safe, or risk rejection. Most people choose safety, not because they lack dreams, but because they fear the pain of hearing one simple word. No. Yet here's the irony. The people we admire most aren't the ones who avoided rejection. They're the ones who learned to survive it. Think about every inventor who changed the world, every entrepreneur who built a successful company, every artist whose work inspired millions, every athlete who stood on a podium. Behind every success story, you'll almost always find a trail of rejection. Applications denied, ideas dismissed, auditions failed, businesses that collapsed, dreams that seemed impossible. Success wasn't built by avoiding rejection. It was built by refusing to let rejection become their identity. Here's something your brain rarely tells you. Rejection is information, not definition. Sometimes it tells you that you need more practice. Sometimes it tells you that your timing wasn't right. Sometimes it tells you that your idea wasn't the best fit. And sometimes, it tells you absolutely nothing about your worth. Not everyone will understand your vision. Not everyone will appreciate your personality. Not everyone will choose you. And that's perfectly normal. Because if everyone liked the same music, the same food, the same books, the same careers, the world would never move forward. Diversity of thought is part of what makes humanity extraordinary. So why do we spend so much of our lives trying to earn everyone's approval? Perhaps because we confuse acceptance with value. But they are not the same thing. A person can reject your idea without rejecting your potential. A company can reject your application without rejecting your abilities. A relationship can end without proving you are unlovable. Those are very different conclusions. Unfortunately, the brain often chooses the harshest one. This is why self-compassion matters. It isn't about making excuses. It's about speaking to yourself with the same kindness you would offer a close friend. If someone you cared about failed an interview, would you tell them, "You're worthless"? Of course not. You'd probably say, "You'll get another chance. Keep learning. Don't give up." Yet when the same thing happens to us, our inner voice often becomes our harshest critic. What if that voice became your greatest coach instead? Imagine how many opportunities you would pursue, how many conversations you would begin, how many dreams you would chase. If rejection no longer controlled your decisions, perhaps courage isn't about becoming fearless. Perhaps courage is learning that rejection may hurt, but it doesn't have the final word. The next time fear whispers, "Don't try," they might reject you. Ask yourself another question. What if they don't? And even if they do, Will one moment decide the rest of your life? Or will it simply become another lesson on your journey? The greatest opportunities often exist on the other side of uncertainty, not because success is guaranteed, but because growth is. So apply for the job. Start the business. Share the idea. Introduce yourself. Express how you feel. Not because rejection is impossible, but because a life ruled by fear is a far greater loss than rejection itself. One day, you'll look back and realize something profound. The moments that changed your life weren't the times everything went according to plan. They were the moments you found the courage to act despite the possibility of failure. Thank you for joining me on Mind Decoded. If this video helped you see rejection in a new light, subscribe and join a community dedicated to understanding the psychology behind human behavior, emotions, and the hidden patterns of the mind. Because every fear has a story, every emotion has a purpose, and every mind can be decoded. Until next time, stay curious.